Just because the temperature's dropping doesn't mean you have to be stuck indoors. So join us as we head out to Carter Cave State Park for Winter Adventure Weekend. So get up, get off the couch, and let's go. I'm here with Coy. And Coy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, my name is Coy Ainsley. I'm the park naturalist here at Carter Cave State Resort Park and have been here since 2001 and have been part of the previous crawl-a-thon events and now the Winter Adventure Weekends.
So tell us a little bit about the Winter Adventure Weekend.
Well, Winter Adventure Weekend is a very unique event, and it started due to the cancellation of the Carter Caves Crawl-a-thon, which was just a wild caving event that was started here at Carter Caves back in the early 1980s. And the purpose of it was to bring people to the park during a time of year when we're rather slow. And what a better thing to do than to go caving while you're here. So it started in the early 1980s and ran about 27 years. And the event grew very large with over 600 people participating, and we'd have close to 120 volunteers. Unfortunately, white nose syndrome, a disease that's spreading through the bat community in the northeast United States. There was a threat of spreading that disease into Carter caves, where we have a lot of important bat hibernaculums here of the Indiana brown bat, which is a federally endangered species. So the crawl-a-thon was canceled in 2009, and we started Winter Adventure Weekend in 2010.
So now you offer a lot of different types of activities. What are some of those activities?
Yeah, we do a lot of surface trips. We're doing rappelling. We got a lot of vertical trips on the surface like rappelling. We're doing rock climbing. We're doing zip lining. There is rope ascending programs. There's also a lot of surface hikes that we're doing. Some of those are geared towards specific subjects such as the archaeological trips. We have some trips that are looking at karst features that are above ground. We're doing like winter birding hikes. So there's a lot of above ground surface type hiking that we're doing. We also have a lot of workshops like fire building, winter survival workshops. It's just a whole mix. You know, we're looking at 150 trips here this weekend with lots to do.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different trips for people who are wanting to develop maybe different outdoor skills.
Yeah, and that's what's neat about Winter Adventure Weekend is a lot of these are kind of like 101 classes. A lot of these outdoor pursuits may cost quite a bit of money to get into initially to get the gear to be able to go rappelling or get the gear to go caving. So this gives people a chance to get a little hands-on, and maybe if they are enjoying themselves and see that they like it, they may pursue that outdoor pursuit in their lives.
So outside of Winter Adventure Weekend, what are some other activities people can participate here at Carter Caves during the wintertime?
Sure. Well, we do the walking cave tours year-round here at Carter Caves. We have Cascade Cave and X Cave open year-round for tours. Surface hikes. You know, a lot of people come to Carter Caves. It's a pretty time of year to hike. It's different because you can see a lot of the exposed cliff lines from distances. Plus, the park is not as crazy in the wintertime as it is in the summer, as far as being full of people.
Kelly Nicely from Northern Kentucky, Union, Kentucky.
And you're here at Winter Adventure Weekend. Is this your first time at Winter Adventure Weekend?
Absolutely not. I wouldn't miss it. It's a fantastic event, very family friendly, and just so many fun things to do.
And how did you first get involved with Winter Adventure Weekend?
Andy Niekamp, who sits on the board here, is a friend of mine, and he started spreading the word to us in a hiking group that we participate with him and started spreading the word. We've come down, fell in love with it, and we wouldn't miss it.
So there's lots of different types of adventures that you can participate in. What types of adventures do you?
Well, I faced my fears the first year and did the Down for Dummies, which is rappelling off of the cliff out back, and a little nerve-wracking, but it's a great time. The staff here is the utmost professional. All the volunteers really go the distance to make sure everybody's safe and well tended to. We've done the zip line. What else have we done? I'm signed up for horseback riding this time. Trying to think of what else we've done. Tree climbing, that's hard, but it's a lot of fun, and they'll really teach you about it. And there's just all kinds of different things to do. Hiking, cave tours, so much.
So you've been here for 3 years and you still haven't covered every adventure they offer.
Absolutely not. I mean, you can only choose 5, and there's so many to choose from. I know last year we were shooting guns and shooting 22s. That was really a good time because I really hadn't had any experience with guns. So one of the Fish and Wildlife directors was here, officers, and taught us about gun safety. And there is just so much. So every time the list is released every year, it's really exciting to check out what's offered and try to pick something new.
So outside of Winter Adventure Weekend, do you do a lot of outdoor activities?
I do. I do volunteer hiking guide work up in northern Kentucky, and I absolutely love being outside. Winter hiking is really fun. People get concerned about the cold, but if you dress right in layers, you'll always stay comfortable, and there's so much more to see. The leaves are down off the tree, the contrast of the snow. It's really unique.
I'm here with Paul. Now, Paul, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, I work for the Kentucky Department of Parks, and this isn't my normal site that I'm at, but I come here every single year to help out the park naturalist staff here. It's an event that's kind of near and dear to my heart. My father coordinated this event originally back in the early 80s, and when he retired in 2000, I believe it was, is when it kind of got passed on to other people, and then it became a different event that we call the Winter Adventure Weekend. Originally it was called Crawlathon. So the past few years it's been known as a Winter Adventure Weekend, and it's kind of taken on its own life as the Winter Adventure Weekend. It's one of the best events of its kind in the eastern United States. There's nothing like it. And I just try to help put out fires, just try to make sure everybody's safe, everybody's happy, and everybody's having fun.
And what's your favorite event of the weekend?
Squeeze box.
Now, we haven't heard about the squeeze box yet, so
That's what I was afraid of.
it sounds interesting, so tell us about it.
We used to describe it as being a medieval torture device, is what it looks like. You have essentially 2 pieces of plywood sandwiched together. You can raise and lower the roof. And this started out in the very, very early years of what used to be called Crawlathon. People would lower the roof of this contraption and to see who could squeeze through the smallest space. And there are many, many, many stories of the squeeze box here at this event that you probably hear from a lot of different people. But this is still a very, very popular event. It's one of the drop-ins here. You can come in and do it almost at any time. But it's still just to see the lengths that people will go to try to get through these smallest spaces. So if you get a chance, you got to come out just for that, if nothing else.
Yeah, and so that kind of has a functional application in Winter Adventure, though, also.
Yeah, it did. And again, we kind of use Crawlathon and Winter Adventure Weekend interchangeably because there are a lot of similarities, but originally it was going through the caves here at the park and to get as many cave tours in as you possibly could. And since so many of these places in the caves can get very, very small, it really kind of tested one's skill, so to speak, is originally what it was. So it was loved by many, many people for many, many years, and still a lot of kids enjoy it nowadays too, in addition to, all the other events going on here as well. Some of the events that we have going on here, think of anything that you could possibly do in a winter environment like this. You can do it, whether it's map orienteering. We have programs called Up for Idiots, Down for Dummies, beginner rappelling classes, whether it's just getting out and doing a walk and seeing the natural features here at the park. Those are very, very popular. We still do some crawling through the caves as well whenever we get a chance to get to these places. But really, it's still based upon being outdoors, getting active, and experiencing everything here at Carter Caves. So trying to think of some of the more popular events. One we didn't get a chance to do this weekend is called the Tigers Creek Regatta. Of course, it'd normally be the Regatta, but the Regatta, and we had to unfortunately cancel that due to low water. But that's also another event. So whether it be paddling in water, whether it be walking in the woods, whether it be horseback riding, backpacking, you name it, we do it here.
So people, oftentimes when they think about the outdoors, they think of, summer and heat, yeah. But you all are showing here that these things can be enjoyed in the winter as well.
Yeah, and you'll find that the participants of this event are a unique breed, okay? Doesn't matter what the weather is. There have been years when we've did a sleigh ride down these hills. When we couldn't get to some of the other stuff, we made up our own events, But that's, you don't have to be indoors in the wintertime. Come dressed appropriately, but there's still a lot of things that you can do at this type of event. We get a lot of Boy Scout groups. We get a lot of just outdoor people. It's people from all walks of life, whether it be children, whether it be full-time cavers, whether it be just any kind of outdoor enthusiast that you can think of. Those are the type of people that you really get here. Even we do a lot of rope work here at this event, whether it be the others that I referred to earlier, the Up for Idiots, Down for Dummies. We also do slacklining, recreational tree climbing, and it's amazing. People will come in here and say, I didn't even know you want to climb a tree recreationally, but that's another special event here. They're up here on top of the hill, going up and down the tree, even as we speak, so you can get in on that as well. Anything. I mean, it truly is a one-of-a-kind event for the Eastern U.S., in my opinion.
So is this event just for experts, or this for people who are kind of curious and want to try things out?
It's a very good question. It doesn't matter whether you are a beginner who's never even donned a pair of hiking boots on, to whether you're a hardcore hiking the Appalachian Trail, and we have both of those here. We've got people who have hiked the Appalachian Trail numerous times. You can come here and you will find something in our mix for something that you can do. WinterAdventureWeekend.com. It's a web page that they maintain. It's an excellent web page. You can go and get all the information. When the registration opens up, you can register online. You can also call the park here, 606-286-4411, or the ky.gov website. You can go to our state parks website. It's got all the information on there as well. So there are many different outlets: Facebook page for Carter Caves, web page for WinterAdventureWeekend.com, and ky.parks.
So, the people watching this are obviously going to have missed out on Winter Adventure Weekend. So if they heard something on here that interests them, what are some good resources of organizations or places that they could try out these activities?
A lot of different places in Kentucky, West Virginia, and Ohio have caving organizations. Whether it be grottos, spelunking groups that get out and do a lot of this stuff. Many of these guys are linked into this type of event. In fact, many of the volunteers, we have one of the largest volunteer bases of any event in Kentucky right now. And many of these people are linked into this event. They help us plan it. They help us organize it. We couldn't do this event if it weren't for these amazing volunteers. But you can get in with your local SO groups, hiking groups, biking groups. If you participate in some type of group that does some type of recreation outdoors, chances are Winter Adventure Weekend in Carter Cave State Resort Park is going to come up at some point.
And this is the slack line. And basically this rock climbers, when they used to go out to Yosemite and practice, they would have multi-days on the rocks. And also weather would move in and they would end up spending many days in camp and webbing. Now this is 2-inch webbing. Half, of course, 1 inch, and 1 inch webbing is what they original slacklining they do, or they use. And so basically what they do is they would hook this in between the trees, and then they would just practice balancing. Well, this was something to kill time, because they had the same equipment that you had for rock climbing that you use for slacklining. And if the storm moves in, you can't climb on the big walls. And so what you end up doing is you spend 2-3 days in camp waiting for that storm to pass. And of course, if you're rock climbing, you're probably a pretty active person anyway. They're kind of ADD-ish, going crazy. And so they developed this. And usually we do this barefoot. And it's funny how much you lose if you haven't done it in a while. So you can just try with 1 foot, 2. Eyes forward, body kind of square if you can. And you also will notice that your hands, you can really mess yourself up or balance yourself with your hands. All right, your turn.
And we're here with Scott, and his specialty is recreational tree climbing. So how did you get into tree climbing?
Just some friends got me out here a few years ago to start helping doing it, but it's what I do for a living, so.
Oh, so you're a pro, you're a professional.
That's what I do. I climb, cut trees for a living.
So is that something that like started as a kid? You know, a lot of kids have the inclination to climb trees.
Yeah, I did a lot of climbing when I was little, and then it just kind of happened by accident. I just kind of fell into it, and it worked out good for me.
So when you look at a tree, do you always think about climbing it?
All the time. That's my wife gets mad at me because that's all I talk about when I look at a tree. Yeah, I could do this with it. So.
So are there different techniques and things when you're climbing trees?
Yes, every tree's a little different. There's nothing the same when you're doing it. So.
And so, what would you tell people who are interested in, tree climbing?
It's definitely a good workout, and it's a good experience, and different life, and something you wouldn't do ordinarily. So, it's definitely worth trying.
Yeah, it gives you a different perspective on things to see it from.
Yes, very different. Be in shape because it takes a lot of strength that you don't know you got.
Probably takes a lot of mental strength to.
Yes, you got to be able to overcome your fears. That was something that took me a long time to overcome. So it definitely plays a part with your nerves.
Yeah, I'm afraid of heights, so I think it would be hard for me to climb trees.
That's how I hate heights. I've hated heights since I was born.
And you climb trees for a living?
Yes, I hate heights.
Well, then how does that work?
You got to conquer your fears with your nerves. So that's what it is.
You trust your equipment?
You got to trust equipment in the gear, or you're in trouble. So that's definitely a big factor in it.
This is a multi-level, multi-dimensional crawl that takes about 45 minutes to go through. And as you learned, you can get lost in it.
Hello, I'm stuck.
So, and it's something that a lot of volunteers spend a lot of hours building.
But it simulates a lot of different aspects of a wild cave.
Actually, it does. You have passages, lava tubes, you have climbs and crawls, and they've even put some formations in there as well. So.
And I noticed some different techniques you used. You were on your back, you were on your side, you were using, your feet first, those just different ways.
Yeah, what's kind of interesting is there for a while I was doing some yoga for an injury, and I found it improved my caving, because all those kinds of moves that you have to do in yoga, you actually do when you're caving, because you're crossing different rocks, different streams, different crawls, and so it's very physical, but also there's just a lot of techniques to get through. So yeah, it was a good time. I'm glad you guys got a chance to go through and try it out.
This particular one follows basically where the Native people followed. And years ago, many years ago, Carter Caves was a campground for Native people going back probably 8,000 to 10,000 years ago. Oh, wow. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through over the top of 6 rock shelters that were occupied. And we know that they were occupied from about 500 AD to about 1200 AD. And then there's another rock shelter that was occupied maybe back to 1000 BC. Then we cross the canyon, which is called Woodhen Hollow. And then going down over the trail to the cliff, and there's an ancient trail that the Native people used to come up and down that cliff. We're going to go down that and hopefully back up. And there are rock shelters and 3 or 4 caves down there. We won't go in the caves because of the bats. After we get back up, which takes us a while, we will then go to the Raven Bridge. And that's, I think, based on the archaeological evidence, a sacred site. And all I can do is because it's one of the biggest sites in the park, and we can't figure out why they occupied that hillside. I mean, it's a pretty steep hillside, but the entire hillside is covered with artifacts. So we will then come back this trail. There's a couple features on the trail that are interesting, and then back to the lodge to relax, to warm up, yeah. It's not too bad now.
So what type of artifacts do you see on this?
Well, Now, none because they're all covered with snow. But we may see some flakes. Now, to me, doing archaeological work, a little flake tells me more than finding what's called a projectile point or an artifact that would be like people call arrowheads. The reason is that the flakes tell me several things. They tell me where the stone came from. They tell me where the people were working, so that's where the flakes will be. You find a whole bunch of flakes. And then you look at the flake and you can tell what stage it was from the standpoint of when they start hitting the rock. It's like an orange. You got to take off the peeling first, and then you work your way in, and then you finally get to the point where you're doing fine work. Well, all these little flakes tell me what they were doing. So we know that they were living in these rock shelters for an extended period of time, probably from late summer through the winter, and not into summertime, because they're out someplace else in the summertime. So it's we don't find the classic, quote, arrowhead and so on. That's all been dug up years ago. Back before this was a park, they used to have archaeological weekends, and people would actually come and pay and then go dig up a site. So they're all destroyed, except they left the flakes behind. So now I know the story, but I don't know who. So I can tell you what they did, tell you people were there, tell you where they got their stone, and almost how long they were there, but I can't tell you who they were.
So do you do archaeological work for a profession, or is it kind of a hobby? Or both?
Both. I started in '84 down here, and I'm still working on sites. I had 3 grants through the Kentucky Heritage Council, and I'm working now with the state archaeologist. I have to have a permit to do all this, so he gives me a permit every year. In fact, the one now is open, so I don't have to keep renewing it. And I'm allowed to study in the park and collect things in the park, but they all go to the Webb Museum at UK.
It's very interesting. So how did you get involved with the Winter Adventure Weekend? Or were you involved when it was crawl-a-thon as well?
4 years ago, because they couldn't go into the caves, Coy said, "Have you got anything you want to do?" I said, "Sure, let's do these archaeological walks," and that's when it started. And the first year, I think I did 2. Now we're up to 4. That's about all we can do. I mean, there's not enough time. Surprisingly, the number of people that have signed up, all 3 of the first ones were registered full, and then the one on Sunday has 29 people signed up for it. So that should be interesting.
Is this your first time at Winter Adventure Weekend?
It is my first time at Winter Adventure Weekend.
So what brought you out?
Just looked for something fun to do, friends.
Have you done anything like this before?
I have not done this before. I'm kind of nervous.
So how do you feel about heights?
Healthy fear. I have a healthy fear. So hopefully I'll be okay, right?
Is this your first time at Winter Adventure Weekend?
This is my first time. We had a little trouble finding the sign to get here. She said follow the yellow scaffolding. But we made it.
You just mean to this location from the lodge?
Correct.
So your winter adventure skills could use some work?
I do need wilderness skills. Bon voyage!
So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna have you hold this right around your belly button. She has to do it.
I don't know. I don't think I can. I really don't.
You can do this.
I'm really afraid of heights.
You know what though? You're on that and Larry has complete control.
I want you to keep climbing the ladder until you're high enough that I can hook into your harness. So you probably have to come above the wooden deck. One more step, right there. So you would walk to the edge right here. Put your toes just hanging over the edge of that little yellow line. And then I want you to sit down. There you go.
What are your plans for the future of Winter Adventure Weekend?
Well, you know, it's the event just seems to keep growing. I mean, this is the 5th year, and every year we've escalated in the number of participants, the number of trips we're offering. I mean, we're getting up there. You know, we got about 150 trips this year. I don't really see us maybe going much farther than 150 trips during the weekend, although, you know, I'm always getting in touch with new people, folks that have different types of skills and abilities that may want to come out and lead a new trip. So, and we do have trips that drop off, you know, some that we're not doing any longer that we were doing. So I see this event as a little different than the crawl-a-thon because it has so much more potential as far as the different types of trips you can offer and do. It draws a lot more people's interest here. You know, with caving, if you're not interested in caving, then you want anything to do with the crawl-a-thon. But with Winter Adventure Weekend, you can have a slight interest in a lot of different things. And surely we'd have something available for about anybody out there. So I do foresee this continuing to grow. I think we can currently handle another 100 people with what we have to offer now. But I see us keep it pushing on. We got great volunteers. It's a big volunteer-based event, and without them, we couldn't do it.
And what's your personal favorite of the Winter Adventure Weekend?
Oh my! Well, you know, I'm gonna be honest. This year it'll be the first time I used to lead trips during the crawl-a-thon. I did some wild caving trips in Back Cave, and unfortunately, we're not able to go in Back Cave right now. But I'm actually leaving the craziness of the event behind me because I'm going to be sunk underground in Horn Hollow and Rimstone Cave this weekend. And I haven't been caving a whole lot, obviously, because of the white nose syndrome. And we did some refresher courses for some guides, and we got in that cave, and I was like, man, I miss this. So I'm looking forward to that. You know, actually getting out and being able to lead the trips again, be with the people and the participants as opposed to being the guy behind the scenes that's just trying to hold all the pieces together throughout the weekend.
So that was a look at Winter Adventure Weekend at Carter Cave State Park. So don't let the cold weather keep you inside. Layer up and let's go.